Come to my channel in the bustling heart of mid-20th century America. Amidst the echoes of change and progress, a small, unassuming object emerged from the Denver Mint in 1974, a silver-colored coin, only 24.3 millimeters in diameter and weighing just over 5 grams. It was a simple $quarter, yet today, it captivates collectors, historians, and coin enthusiasts for one powerful reason. A coin that, while once used to buy a cup of coffee or a soda, now fetches up to $156 in collector circles. To understand why, we need to travel back in time, not just to 1974, but to the very roots of American coinage, and the role of the quarter in American life. The $quarter, or 25-cent coin, has long held a unique position in the daily commerce of the United States. Introduced in 1796, the quarter evolved in both form and function, adapting to the changing face of America. Over the decades, designs changed, metals shifted, and faces were replaced. And among the most recognizable of these changes was the introduction of the Washington quarter, first struck in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The Washington quarter became the standard design for decades to follow. Yet by 1974, the country was grappling with economic tension, rising inflation, and the recent departure from the silver standard in coinage. In 1965, the U.S. Mint had ceased the production of silver quarters and replaced them with clad compositions of copper and nickel. By 1974, this clad coin was standard, but that didn't stop the fascination with the earlier silver versions. Still, even these post-silver clad coins had their stories and surprises. The 1974 quarter was no exception. That year, over 801 million Washington quarters were minted, with nearly 353 million coming from the Denver Mint, signified by a small D mint mark located on the obverse side, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. While this large production number might suggest that all 1974 D quarters are common and unremarkable, coin collecting is rarely that simple. Sometimes, rarity isn't about how many were made, it's about how many remain in exceptional condition, or how many carry subtle, often unnoticed errors that make them uniquely valuable. Let's take a closer look at the coin itself. Now, with such a common design, one might wonder, how can a 1974 D quarter become so valuable? Here's where the story takes a turn. Because value in numismatics is rarely about face value. It's about history, rarity, condition, and sometimes even accidents. First, let's talk about condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a flawless coin, untouched by circulation. Most coins that pass through hands, pockets, vending machines, and cash registers are worn down quickly. But a small number are preserved, either forgotten in drawers or set aside by someone who thought, just maybe, it might be worth something one day. A 1974 D quarter in average circulated condition might only be worth 25 cents. Exactly what it says. But in mint state, particularly grades MS 65 and above, it begins to show its potential. At MS 67 or MS 68, the coin's surfaces are brilliant, with sharp details and no visible wear. These coins are rare not because they weren't made, but because surviving in such pristine condition is uncommon. Then come the errors, other errors, like off-center strikes, where the design isn't fully centered on the coin, or planchet errors, where the blank metal disc wasn't properly prepared, also drive up value. These anomalies transform an otherwise common coin into a highly sought-after collectible. And there's another factor at play: nostalgia. Collectors knew what they were looking at, a nearly perfect example of a widely minted coin, with just enough mystery in its details to stir curiosity. And when the final gavel fell, the coin sold for $156. Not a fortune, but not bad for a coin that once bought a soda. Not bad at all. The coin's journey, from the Denver Mint presses to a pocket, a jar, a drawer, and finally a showcase, tells a story not just of a piece of metal, but of time itself. It reminds us that even in mass production, individuality emerges. That even among the common, greatness can be found. Coin collecting, after all, is about stories. Each coin is a tiny time capsule, a sliver of history passed from hand to hand. The 1974 quarter tells a story of American resilience, of economic change, and of everyday life in the mid-70s. It's a whisper from the past, saying, I was there. I saw it all. So next time you're sifting through change, pause for a moment. Look closely. That quarter might not just be 25 cents. It could be a forgotten relic, a rare survivor, or a historical artifact waiting to be rediscovered. Because sometimes, the coins we overlook are the ones that tell the greatest stories. And as for the 1974 Washington quarter, the one with that nearly invisible doubling, the glimmering luster, and the MS-68 grade, it found its place not just in a collector's vault, but in history. Its value? $156. A small fortune for a small coin. But a big story, told in copper and nickel, from the heart of 1974 America. Have you ever checked the change in your pocket and wondered if one of those ordinary coins could actually be worth more than $100? Sounds too good to be true, right? But in the world of coin collecting, some of the most unassuming pieces can carry surprising stories, and even more surprising value. One of those coins is the 1965 United States quarter dollar. At first glance, it's just another piece of American currency, something you might toss in a vending machine or leave in your car's cup holder. But for coin collectors and history buffs, the 1965 quarter holds a special place, and some examples of this coin can fetch up to $115 today. So what makes this coin so special? Why would anyone pay that much for a coin that looks just like millions of others? To truly understand the 1965 quarter's worth, we need to travel back in time, back to the early 1960s. America was in the midst of massive change. The country had just witnessed the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963, the civil rights movement was gaining momentum, and the Vietnam War was escalating. Meanwhile, something more subtle was happening with American currency. In 1964, silver prices were skyrocketing. You see, up until that year, U.S. quarters were made of 90% silver. But with silver becoming more valuable, people started hoarding coins. They weren't doing it for fun, they were doing it because the silver in those coins was worth more than the coin's face value. This created a coin shortage, and the U.S. Mint found itself in a bind. Millions of coins were vanishing from circulation, stashed away in drawers and jars as Americans clung to their silver like treasure. The Mint had to act fast, and in 1965, it made a historic decision that would change American coinage forever. That year, the U.S. government officially ended the production of 90% silver quarters. From then on, quarters would be made with a copper-nickel clad composition. Condition is one of the most important factors. Most coins from 1965 saw years, if not decades, of circulation. They've been through pockets, purses, vending machines, and who knows what else. That kind of use leaves marks, scratches, wear, dings, and dirt. So finding a 1965 quarter in pristine, mint condition is extremely rare. Coin collectors use a grading system to evaluate the condition of coins, ranging from poor to perfect. A coin that scores a grade of MS-65 or higher, meaning it's in near flawless mint state, can command significant value. But wait, there's more. Some 1965 quarters have what's known as a double die error, where the design on the coin is stamped twice by accident, resulting in a slight doubling of the images or letters. These kinds of errors can be hard to spot with the naked eye, but under magnification, they reveal their secrets. Another type of desirable error is an off-center strike, where the coin's design is misaligned due to a production mistake. Then there are coins struck on the wrong planchet entirely, like a 1965 quarter struck on a dime blank. These are incredibly rare, and when one shows up at auction, collectors go wild. All of this brings us to the coin's design, which has remained remarkably consistent over the years. Over the years, coin collecting has grown from a niche hobby into a passionate community with its own economy, language, and culture. Collectors hunt for rare dates, unique errors, and top-grade specimens. They go to coin shows, join online forums, and spend hours poring over price guides. For these enthusiasts, the 1965 quarter isn't just a piece of metal, it's a symbol of a pivotal moment in American monetary history. It was a time when the country was shifting away from precious metals, when inflation and global markets forced changes in how currency was made. The 1965 quarter was at the center of that transformation. And here's the real kicker: some 1965 quarters, even without silver content, have been sold for up to $115. That's right, a coin that originally had a face value of just 25 cents is now worth nearly 500 times that amount. What makes those coins stand out? It could be a high grade from a professional grading service, or an unusual error, or simply the fact that it's been preserved better than 99.9% of the others. In some cases, it's all three. So, the next time you get a handful of change, take a closer look. Flip that quarter over. Check the date. Is it 1965? If it is, you might just be holding a little piece of history, and maybe even a hidden treasure. Of course, not every 1965 quarter is worth $115. Most are still worth their face value. But with a bit of luck, a sharp eye, and a little knowledge, you could stumble upon one of the valuable ones. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about money, it's about stories, mysteries, and the thrill of discovery. The 1965 quarter may not sparkle with silver, but it shines with significance. And for those lucky enough to find the right one, it can shine all the way to the bank. So go ahead, dig through your change jar, check your old coin collection, or ask your grandparents if they've got any old quarters lying around. Because that 1965 quarter? It could be worth a whole lot more than you think. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1965 quarter, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more coin stories and hidden treasures, and leave a comment if you've ever come across a rare coin yourself. Until next time, keep checking your change. You never know what history might be hiding in your pocket.